Welcome, everybody. I'm Ann Clark. I'm one of the directors of the Historical Society, or as my family calls it, the Hysterical Society. Today is a tribute to a simpler time, and we're so glad to have this opportunity. About a year ago, we were discussing the way this center block looked in the past with our first selectman, Mike Frieda. And since then, we've had quite a lesson in history. We ask you to join us as we pledge allegiance to our flag first, and listen or sing along to our national anthem. Then Mr. Frieda will give us his thoughts on today's events. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, where's our musician player?
I told you.
Well, thank you everyone for attending today. I wanted you to know on a personal note that I'm on a mission to work with the Historical Society to recreate the rich history in the past of North Haven. I believe that history should not be forgotten. It should be revered as a foundation of who we are as North Haven residents. Many of you may not realize that baseball is part of the rich fabric of my own history. Having played in over 1,200 games in my amateur career, being fortunate, very fortunate to have been inducted into 3 different Baseball Hall of Fames, center field was my position. And I have to share with you that I had a love affair with that position in the game. I couldn't wait for the next game. I played up until about 4 years ago. And it was such a rewarding experience for me. Baseball taught me many valuable lessons, one of which is how to deal with failure. Because for those who played the game, you know that for every 10 at-bats, you can make 7 outs and still potentially go to the Hall of Fame. This collaboration with the Historical Society started with another part of me personally. You may not realize this, but I'm also a baseball historian. Love the history of it, have all these stats in my mind, dates of games played, players and their career statistics. So some may say, Mike, you are a fountain of useless information, but I love the information that I have in the corners of my mind. So in my travels down through the years, I've been to Minnesota, and I saw home plate of Metropolitan Stadium in the Mall of America. And I have pictures of that, and I was fascinated by it. Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, which ironically closed the same year as Heaton Field did in 1970, home plate, the original home plate, is in the University of Pittsburgh College corridor. If anyone's been to Citi Field, you see that the parking lot of Citi Field was the old Shea Stadium. They not only have home plate, they have first base, second base, third base, and a pitcher's mound. And I often wondered why Yankee Stadium did not do the same thing, preserving the original home plate. So I happened to be speaking with Ann, and I had this thought about home plate at Heaton Field. And from there, Ann and the Historical Society and everyone involved, including Jim Scott, who's here, they took that thought and they ran with it, and here we are today to see this unveiling. So let us always remember that history tends to be forgotten. But here in North Haven, and I hope you would agree that for as long as I'm your first selectman, history will always try to be recreated, to remind people of the rich historical past of North Haven. And Heaton Field from 1951 to 1970 represented, again, the fabric of a community, North Haven. Thousands of people appeared in these grandstands here in those 20 years. Probably 1,000 or more kids played at Heaton Field. It was a destination for people who didn't even play baseball. And for that, I think we should always remember that history. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to introduce our colleague, Jane Iannone. Jane?
Thank you, Mike. Our second selectman, Sally Boemi, would like now to say a couple of words about her memories of Heaton Field.
Thank you. I'm the third selectman. That's okay. Sally Blaney. Thank you. I grew up on St. John Street and a quick bike ride, and I was here at Heaton Field every night watching my classmates and my friends and schoolmates. I watched Phil Sabiga and Mike Proto, Steve Kessis, Tommy Chiari, the Germines, all who went on to great careers with Coach DeMeo. Mr. DeMeo, I'm so glad to see you here for Housatonic League. What a field it was. It was a field of dreams right here in the center of North Haven with a great concession stand. You can get a Milky Way for a nickel and a double popsicle, sky blue pink, for 20 cents. Remember those double popsicles? There were hamburgers and hot dogs, and then the PA system. That was such a thrill to hear your classmates' names being announced by the public address system. It was just a fantastic place. I loved every minute of it. We had a great time watching the boys. I was playing, if you could indulge, please, I was playing at Memorial Field behind the old firehouse softball. We didn't have any lines on the field. We didn't have a cut infield. I wished I was left-handed because the right-handed batter's box was 6 inches deep. Sometimes we didn't have a first base, and they'd go to Luigi's Pizza and get a pizza box and cut it to the size of the base and stick a stick in there, and that was our base. But we didn't care about the inequities of the time. It was the 60s. That was my field of dreams. And I went on to be on the first North Haven High School girls softball team, and it was a privilege to do that. But I'm here to talk about Heaton Field. This is where my love of baseball and softball began. It was a magic place. I'll never forget 1968, one of the most tumultuous years in American history, with the Tet Offensive and the Martin Luther King and Kennedy assassinations. But here at Heaton Field, we found peace and the love of baseball. And then they put up, Fenway Park had its green monster. In '68, we had a brick monster. They built the new police station, and every classmate of mine, every boy wanted to come to the plate and hit off that brick monster. It was just a great year. I'll never forget 1968. I'll never forget Heaton Field. When they tore it down to build this library, I shed a tear, and I wasn't the only one who did. That's how much Heaton Field meant to me and how much it meant to us. Thank you for letting me share my memories of this great, great place.
Thank you very much, Sally. I'd also like to acknowledge Coach Bob DeMeo and his lovely wife, Betty. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. All the kids that played here at Heaton Field, many of them went through and played for Coach DeMeo. And Coach Bob DeMeo is also a large part of the rich history of North Haven and North Haven baseball. Let's give Coach DeMeo a round of applause. So now I'd like to introduce our state representative, Dave Yacarino, who represents North Haven in the 87th District. And Dave actually played in an all-star game here when he was 11 years old. David?
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Ian, and thank you, Gail. Really, thank you, everybody, for being here. Coach Proto, I remember when I was 9 and 10 years old watching my brother Vinny and Mike Proto. I'd come here and sit in the stands. There was bleachers right where Elm Street is and right over here on this side. And I would watch these games and love them. And I loved the PA system. But I really loved when I had enough money to get an ice cream. But when I was 11, somehow I played in Nettleton Field. I grew up here. All my friends played in Heaton. and I played against them in an All-Star game in I guess 1970. I played the first 5 innings. I think I got a single, but Bobby Furs, I don't know if Furs is here, he pinch hit for me in the 6th inning and hit a home run. I don't remember who won the game, but it was just a great game. For me as a boy in North Haven, it was a great memory. Coming here, you could practice here, just play here as a boy, just walking and start practicing here. But I think it's wonderful we keep these and preserve these memories, because baseball to me is the greatest game of all. I taught a class at Gateway Community College in the history of baseball, through U.S. history from 1849 to 1949. But the love of the game brings people together, like we're bringing people here together today. But it's really Mike, Ann, and the whole group, Coach DeMille, that keeps this memory going. So let's keep it going. I'm proud to be part of this town, and I want to thank you all, and have a great day, and let's play 2 again. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Dave. I would like to introduce to you a member of our board of directors, our archivist, Susan Iverson, who during the past few months has researched the history of Heaton Field. She will now give us a brief glimpse into its short but storied life. Susan.
Thanks, Jane. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I've volunteered at the Historical Society for many, many years now, and I've never seen the level of passion for a project as I've seen for this one. It all started with someone's memory of a Little League ball field in the center of town, one that's long since been torn down and replaced by other buildings. Maybe it's our age group feeling nostalgic about our youth. Maybe it's a desire to convey to others the feelings of belonging, achievement, and excitement we experienced when we were young. Whatever the motivation, the regulars at the Historical Society started scoping out exactly where Heaton Field's home plate had been located. Thanks to early aerial photos of the site, it was determined that Heaton Field was located right here, and home plate would have sat squarely on this front lawn. Of course, we needed to learn more. Out came the archival photos, the old newspaper clippings, and on and on. We were hooked, and a project was born. Here's what we've learned. Heaton Field began as a very large parcel of land that belonged to the Lindsley family. Alfred and Polly Lindsley owned this property, and their home was located right over there on the east side facing the green. The Lindsley house is now the American Legion. Imagine this entire block empty. The Lindsley acreage extended south all the way to the Brickyards, and right over there to Elm Street. And over time, it was subdivided numerous times. One of the subdivisions went to Olivia, one of Lindsley's daughters, and her husband, Julius Heaton. Julius and Olivia Heaton built their house where the police station now stands. Heaton Field was located directly behind that home. I imagine that's why the field came to be known as Heaton Field. This portion of the Lindsley land where we now are remained vacant. Children and then the Athletic Association would use this area as a sandlot baseball field as early as the 1930s, according to our records. Now, 2 Lindsley sisters, Olivia and Delia, eventually inherited this land from their parents, Alfred and Polly, and they in turn left the land to the Library Association for the construction of a library. The first library was built at the northwest corner of this property. That's the cultural center now. And that left still a large section empty, the space we're standing on now. It seems that this space had a spectator stand on it, used by those who came to watch games there sponsored by the North Haven Athletic Association. When the Athletic Association bought Memorial Field, which is located behind Ludall's, when that was bought in 1933, the old stand that used to be here was carried over to Memorial Field by 75 men and boys and placed with a new stand built there for spectators. North Haveners really did love their baseball, even back then. In 1951, Little League was organized in North Haven, and its home field would become Heaton Field. With the help of countless donors, a scrap metal drive, and lots of volunteers, the Exchange Club raised enough money to build a grandstand, a press box, refreshment stand, and real dugouts. There was even a public address system for announcing players and their accomplishments. There were 4 teams. It was Newts and Dairy, Colony Motors, Gavettes, and the Boosters, and they provide the players with uniforms. Opening ceremonies happened every year after that, and they were attended by local dignitaries who made speeches and thanked all who worked so hard to keep Little League baseball alive. But keep in mind, this land belonged to the Library Association, and every year, Little League officials had to petition the Library Association for permission to use the field. As our town grew, it became clear that that 1930s library over there just wasn't gonna do it anymore. We needed a new library. Rumors started to spread that it would be built here on the site of Heaton Field. By 1972, the North Haven Memorial Library was indeed built, and it replaced the beloved Heaton Field, which had been used so long for playing ball. So an era ended. After the regulars at the Historical Society unearthed all this history, it was decided that a monument of some kind should be placed to commemorate Heaton Field. After all, it was the first home of the North Haven Little League program and had given our children countless hours of physical activity and summer play. Luckily, our first selectman, Mike Frieda, is a baseball player and a fan, and so it wasn't difficult to convince him that we should somehow mark the significance of this site as a ball field. Pictures have been assembled, team rosters collected, memories recorded, displays made, and a monument designed and installed. And here we are today to continue Heaton Field's memory in our archives and in our memories. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan. Before we come to a conclusion, I'd like to give a shout out to Mike Proto right here. Let's give him a round of applause. In 1975, as Coach Bob DeMeo would, of course, remember, Mike pitched North Haven to a state championship team. Mike would tell you, if you asked him about it, that he didn't think he had much that day warming up in the bullpen. But that day, he was like Catfish Hunter. Everything was around the knees and everything was on the black, right, Mike? So I want to give him a shout out because he came to me with an additional thought that we're moving forward with. And I'd like to give a shout out to Gerard and AJ who are here from the Mac Sinaway. We're going to be taking from here another path. We're going to look to recreate Heaton Field down at Sinaway Field, working collaboratively with these fine men here who lead the Mac Sinaway organization. Maybe through a series of fundraising, we're going to recreate Heaton Field at Field 1 down in the Monowee section. And Mike Proto, I thank you for bringing that idea forward. Thank you. Jane?
Thank you, Mike. And now our North Haven Teen Poet Laureate, Naomi Borenstein, will read a special poem she has written especially for this memorial dedication. Naomi?
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm the Youth Poet Laureate of North Haven, and this is my poem. Summer, and you can feel a buzz in the air, a buzz like a bat waiting in a player's hand for a swing and a hit and a drop to the dust-filled field. Watch it rise into the atmosphere where it will dissipate, spread across the sky. When the sun comes down, the moon will refract these bits of battered dust into a new being, into stars. You will trace them with your fingers, say, look, there's Orion and Ursa and Gemini. The air stalls in these moments, like the bat, left in the gap between the field and home. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. On behalf of all the members of the Board of Directors, I would like to thank everyone who has helped us with today's celebratory events. Our first selectman, Mike Frieda, the North Haven Memorial Library, our Public Works Department, our Board of Directors member, Jim Scott, Nolan Monuments, Melissa Clark of Connex Credit Union, and all former Heaton Field Little League players who donated materials for today's event. This next paragraph that I'm going to read is a little bit difficult today, so please bear with me. A very special thank you to Dave Gould, who I am sure is smiling while looking down on us today. We are so grateful that earlier this spring, he shared valuable memories with us about the 1951 chartered year of North Haven Little League. Now, James Scott and your team, will you please come forward to unveil the memorial home plate marker. Thank you, Jim. It's now the 7th and last inning, as I was reminded, of Little League. So please join me in singing the chorus of Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And I'm not a singer, so I'm going to step away from the mic, but I will be singing, so will you all please join me? Ready?
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out in the crowd. I need some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I never come back, so I'll root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Thank you for joining us this morning and helping us dedicate this memorial in a place which holds fond childhood memories in the hearts of many North Haveners. Now truly stretch your legs and make your way over to the Historical Society for refreshments and to view special exhibits and a very unique surprise. Thank you all.